What a difference in behavior. My last video showed bass using shade to position and look into the bright sunlight. They were feeding on bait fish. Well, this morning when I woke up, it was drizzling and cloudy. So of course, I checked the dock camera footage. What else would I be doing? Well, the water around here is 55 degrees and we are a couple of weeks from the traditional spawning time on this lake. Well, at first light, bass started showing up under the dock, but as I scrolled through all the footage from this morning, I noticed some key differences from the bright and sunny day. Now, once again, my hope is we can observe this footage together and then you can apply it to your home waters. Well, we've been told forever that bass are more apt to roam when the clouds are out. Well, I think you are going to be shocked at just how much and what they did during this roaming around. It will probably have an influence on the types of lures and presentations you use on days when it is cloudy. First, the bass were much more apt to get on that outside edge of the dock. In the bright sun, they were positioned farther back, even all the way back. But this morning, the pontoon float definitely appeared to be used as a highway marker as bass either traveled along it, sat right there at it for a moment, or came from the deeper water and related to it. Now, the second thing that was so obvious is the bass were in and out. They moved into the area, looked around a bit, and then left. And the crazy thing is they kept showing up and taking a look towards the shoreline, even getting up there and scanning the bottom. And they would move right along after that. It reminded me a lot of hide and seek. They showed up, peeked into the room, and then kept moving. So different than the hours and hours they sat under here when it was sunny. In fact, if I had to put a percentage on it based on today's observation, I would say that 90% of the time there were no bass under here. And just the opposite on this sunny day. Well, think about that if we are fishing on a really cloudy day. Are we possibly targeting cover that is likely empty because they are moving around so much more? Well, it changes that whole mindset of our approach. Those areas between key visible cover, I think, are going to be just as important or even more important if the bass are hopping from one spot to the next. I think I'd have a couple of quick options ready. One to target the cover, whatever you prefer, Texas rigs, wacky rigs, whatever. And then a moving bait for those in-between spots. For me, I would probably be using something like a swim jig, but of course there are lots of options here. But as I said earlier, I'm going to assume that there are plenty of bass in those key travel areas between the visible cover I identify. And I can't wait to keep checking this on cloudy days and see if this is a consistent behavior pattern. Like I mentioned earlier, I'm going to have lots of this footage in my bass behavior bundle. Links are below. And if you would like to see that video where they are feeding on bait fish using the shade to look into the light, go ahead and check this one out right here. And make sure that you go out and encourage someone today. You never know how you might just change their life. For the Bass Fishing Life, I'm your host, Steve Rogers.